I will discuss here the said subject by quoting the modern Sri Aurobindo's thoughts and messages only. So please listen carefully. All that is, however, another matter than the question about the present human civilization. It is not this which has to be saved. It is the world that has to be saved. And that will surely be done. Though it may not be so easily or so soon as some wish or imagine, or in the way that they imagine. The present civilization must surely change, but whether by destruction or a new construction on the basis of a greater truth is the issue. Remarks on the world situation by Sri Aurobindo on 2nd September 1945. Then again, I know that this is a time of trouble for you and everybody. It is for the whole world. Confusion, trouble, disorder, and upset everywhere is the general state of things. The better things that are to come are preparing or growing under a veil, and the worst are prominent everywhere. The one thing is to hold on and to hold out till the hour of light has come. 2nd June 1946 by Sri Aurobindo on letters on himself and the ashram. So you can understand how Sri Aurobindo has quoted it from 1945 and 1946, the situation which we are encountering now. Then we'll see how Mother has told also the similar thing. I am quoting Mother also. The conditions in which men live on earth are the result of their state of consciousness. To seek to change these conditions without changing the consciousness is a vain chimera. Those who have been able to perceive what could and ought to be done to improve the situation in the various domains of human life, economics, political, social, financial, educational, and sanitary, are individuals who have, to a greater or lesser extent, developed their consciousness in an exceptional way and put themselves in contact with the higher planes of consciousness. But their ideas have remained more or less theoretical, or if an attempt has been made to realize them practically, it has always failed lamentably after a certain period of time, for no human organization can change radically unless human consciousness itself changes. Prophets of a new humanity have followed one another. Religions, spiritual or social, have been created. Their beginnings have sometimes been promising. But as humanity has not been fundamentally transformed, the old errors arising from human nature itself have gradually reappeared, and after some time we find ourselves almost back at the point we had started from with so much hope and enthusiasm. Also, in this effort to improve human conditions, there have always been two tendencies which seem to be contrary but which ought to complement each other so that progress may be achieved. The first advocates a collective reorganization, something which could lead to the effective unity of mankind. The other declares that all progress is made first by the individual and insists that the individual should be given the conditions in which he can progress freely. Both are equally true and necessary, and our efforts should be directed along with both these lines at once. For collective progress and individual progress are interdependent. Before the individual can take a leap forward, at least a little of the preceding progress must have been realized in the collectivity. A way must therefore be found so that these two types of progress may proceed side by side. The Mother on Education, Volume 12. Then again, it is a spiritual essential change of consciousness, not the surface manipulation, which is the method of mind and reason that can alone make life other than it now is and rescue it out of its present distressed and ambiguous figure. Sri Aurobindo, Centenary Volume 23, page 159. It is certain that for a very long time, perhaps from the very beginning, not the beginning from the evolutionary standpoint, because there were periods of intermediate beings who were much nearer the animal than the true man. When this human form was developed enough and ready to receive something from above, when the first beings of the higher worlds incarnated in human forms, from that time there were always individuals who carried in themselves this need for eternity and absolute. But it was something individual, and it is only gradually and very progressively through consecutive periods of light and darkness that in the whole of humanity something has awakened to the need of a higher good. The Mother, Volume 7, 12th October 1955. It is interesting to know that for the ages, generation after generation, men have been told that a new world is to come. It would be a revelation of the Spirit to the manifestation on earth of a new power of consciousness that will bring man directly into contact with the divine. That will bring man directly into contact with the divine. According to the Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, the time has come. The promise of yesterday has been fulfilled, and the events we are witnessing today are only preparing the stage for the next act of the great drama of evolution. Let's see how Mother is quoting this in one of the very storytelling, I would say, taking the conversation, question answer sessions of with the children on 12th October 1945, when the Mother was taking the class for the children, and the context was exactly this, where the Mother reads, "The great secret, the unknown man. When is it going to happen? There. That is the question I was waiting for to a child. What did you want to ask?" Then Mother is telling, "I think that this will happen the moment there is a sufficiently large number of consciousness which feel absolutely that it cannot be otherwise. Now, most people, the immense majority among you, have to make an effort to imagine what it will be, and at best speculate upon it, and perhaps hope that this transformation will make things more pleasing, more pleasant, something like that. But your consciousness is so attached to what is, that it even finds it difficult to imagine that things can be otherwise. And until what must be becomes for a sufficiently big group of consciousness an inevitable necessity, and all that has been and all that still is at present appears like an absurdity which cannot last. It is at that moment that this can take place, not before." So clear. There remains a problem, namely, whether it is something which can take place and will take place individually before occurring collectively. It is probable, but no individual relation can be complete nor even approach this perfection if it is not in harmony with at least group of conscious representatives of a new world. In spite of everything, there is so great an interdependence of the individual and the collectivity that the individual realization, despite all, is limited, impoverished by the irresponsive atmosphere. The atmosphere is not responsive, if I may say so, of what surrounds it, and it is certain that the entire terrestrial life has to follow a certain curve of progress, so that a new world and a new consciousness can manifest. And that is why I said at the beginning that it depends at least partially on you, means on the humanity. Mother continues, "Have you ever tried to picture what this new consciousness could be, and what a new race could be like, and finally what a new world could be like?" Mother is asking whether we could imagine or whether we could speculate. It is necessary, we should also imagine. Imagination has an energy and a strength also. Well, mother is telling again. By analogy, it is quite obvious that the arrival of man upon earth has changed the earth condition. I cannot say that from a certain point of view this was for the greatest good of all, because there are many who have suffered terribly from it, from the arrival of man on earth. Who suffered and how? And here it is obvious that complications the being has brought into life have not always been very favorable either for him or for others. But from a certain point of view, this has brought about a considerable progress, even in the lower species. Man meddled with the life of animals. He meddled with the life of plants. He meddled with the life of metals or minerals. As I said, it was not always for the greatest joy of those he dealt with, but still, it certainly changed their conditions of life considerably. Well, in the same way, it is probable that the supramental being, whatever it might be, will considerably change the life of the earth. In our heart and our thought, we hope that all the evils the earth suffers from will be at least ameliorated, if not cured, and that the general conditions will be more harmonious and, in any case, more tolerable. This may happen because it was the very nature of the mental consciousness which incarnated in man, who acted for his own satisfaction, with his own development in view, and without much consideration for the consequences of his actions. Perhaps the supermind will act more harmoniously. In any case, we hope so. That is how we conceive of it. Then again a question. Mother, because of our imperfections, we have to do something. But when the supramental race descends, it will be perfect. Then what will be there to do? Mother is telling, perfect in comparison with us, but not in comparison with what will come later. The world is in perpetual movement and perpetual progression. And it is very obvious that each time a new consciousness is manifested upon earth, one has felt that it would be, perhaps not a definitive realization, but in any case, a considerable progress. And it is also very obvious that for, say, the consciousness of an elephant or a dog, human capacities are something absolutely marvelous. To the extent they are able to understand it, imagine it, sense it, dogs sense them. How they sense? Human faculties are for them something divine. And it is because we indeed have to come to a stage where we perceive something beyond. It is because of this that we are not satisfied with all that we do. We are not satisfied with all that we do. It is because of this that there is the feeling that whatever we may do, there is something which escapes us. That the real thing escapes us. That we are turning round it but don't touch it. Because man has always looking for the beyond, something beyond. Then again Mother is telling, it is because we are ready for this something. Otherwise, if we didn't understand that, we would be absolutely satisfied with what we can do, and there would simply remain the effort to do it better and better. It is the beginning of a new expression. This need, for instance, of something which would be more essentially true, something which would be, on which one could count, which doesn't collapse when one leans upon it, something which gives us lasting, permanent support. Man is looking for now something which should give us a lasting, permanent support. This need of eternity which we have in ourselves, this need of an absolute truth, an absolute good, an absolute beauty. This indeed awakens at the moment one is ready to receive a new consciousness. And that is there within the man. That's what Mother is telling. It is quite obvious that now, through all the swirlings and all the stupidities, there is an awakening need, almost a kind of sensation of what this could and should be. Which means that the time is near. For a very long time it has been said, it will be, and it was promised. Thousands and thousands of years ago, they had already begun to promise that there would be a new consciousness, a new world, something divine which would manifest upon earth. But it was said, it will be, it will be. Like that, they spoke of ages, eons, thousands, and millions of years. They didn't have this sensation which we now have, that it must come, that it is very close. There was a time when the mental being could manifest upon earth. The starting point might have been very poor, very incomplete, very partial, but all the same there was a starting point. Why can't it be now? That's all. The mother is quoting the same thing on 12th October 1955, whatever I read the entire. Because man is for the moment the last rung at the summit of the ascending evolution, he considered himself as the final stage in this ascension and believes that there can be nothing on earth superior to him. In that he is mistaken. In his physical nature he is yet almost wholly an animal, a thinking and speaking animal, but still an animal in his material habits and instincts. Undoubtedly, nature cannot be satisfied with such an imperfect result. She endeavors to bring out a being who will be to man what man is to the animal, a being who will remain a man in its external form, yet whose consciousness will rise far above the mental and its slavery to ignorance. Against Sri Aurobindo came upon earth to teach this truth to man. He told them that man is only a transitional being living in a mental consciousness, but with the possibility of acquiring a new consciousness, the truth consciousness, and capable of living a life perfectly harmonious, good and beautiful, happy and fully conscious. This was the mother's message on 24th July 1951 in volume 12. And today we'll finish this episode with this, because the things are much more deeper, and probably I'll take it up again in the second episode, the same subject, the advent of a new race. Thank you very much. Namaste. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve shantu niramaya, sarve bhadrani paschyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Thank you very much. Namaste.